Thank you. This is Immerse, the podcast and book. We are delighted to have you join us. Immerse is produced by Charlie Morrow, Sean McCann, and Bart Plantenga for Morrow Sound, Vermont and Helsinki, and Recital Edition, Los Angeles. Immerse.
Ville Pulkki's fame reached the techno avant-garde with the adoption of his ingenious VBAP, vector-based amplitude panning, a software tool for creating spatial sound. When I met him in Helsinki, I was delighted to discover that behind the techie who developed VBAP is a charming jokester. Since then, I've enjoyed his warmth and his efficient organizing for the Acoustics Department at Aalto University, including the 2023 154th Workshop of the Audio Engineering Society of Europe. Maija-Leena Remes and I interviewed Ville in his lab where he was studying the acoustic layers of the Earth's atmosphere. He also talked about his learning to dance at the age of 40 and performing on television for commercials and musical events, where the delight of performance must compete with his delight of invention. Ville Pulkki is a professor in the Department of Information and Communications Engineering at Aalto University, Helsinki, Finland, who has worked in the field of spatial audio for over 25 years. He developed VBAP for his PhD in 2001 and later directional audio coding with the assistance of his research group. He's also made contributions to the perception of spatial sound, laser-based measurement of room responses, and binaural auditory models. He received the Samuel L. Warner Memorial Medal Award from the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers and the AES Silver Medal Award. He enjoys his family, building a summer house, playing a variety of musical instruments, as well as acting, dancing, and singing. Ville, it's a pleasure to have you on Immerse. Thanks. Ville, it's nice that you could talk with us today. We've known each other for quite a few years here in Finland and had the pleasure of being in your anechoic chamber, for example. And I knew about your work long before with your invention in software that's coursed through the world. And I guess I'm interested in your background and your foreground. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about your first experience with immersive experiences and immersive sound.
Oh, thanks, Charlie. It's a great pleasure. I guess somehow I have been always interested in sound and music. Mostly music I was listening to when I was, 5 or 6 years. I had a record player and I was kind of playing so much of that one play that I had, or maybe I had two. I had two. Yeah, that my family was a bit annoyed of that children's songs all the time. And from that time, I also remember the first experiences of directional hearing. Like we were out there on the field, and there was an airplane going, and then somebody said that, "Hey, do you notice that the plane is there, but you hear the sound from behind of it?" And it was like, wow, that's true. I can somehow perceive the direction of sound source. That was my first place where I noticed it, I think. And then I've been also interested in silence, like when in Finland you ski in wintertime and you stop in the center of woods and there's no wind or other sounds, so it's completely silent, and it's very, very powerful emotion you get there. But yeah, so I started to go more. I was always trying to make some music with whatever I had in my hand, and also musical instruments. And at some point I started to go to piano classes and was singing in choirs, and there was quite a lot of music in schools. And later then, as a teenager, I was really thinking that I'm a classical pianist, and that's my way to go. But I was also quite good in school and did okay in physics and mathematics. And I kind of, in high school, I started to like a lot this physics, and I thought that, yeah, that's my thing. I want to be an engineer and or study physics or something. And then after high school, I was studying really the technical physics or engineering physics here in Aalto University, or it was Teknillinen korkeakoulu before. But at the same time, I was still continuing my piano classes and whatever singing I had. Then actually I saw this, I was pondering then in the end that what should I do next after this engineering studies, and should I go to work somewhere? But then I actually saw this French movie, Kaikki elämäni aamut, all the mornings of my life in Finnish, but there's Gerald Depardieu there, and it's about these gamba players and these very well-known ones, this Coulombe and so on. Then the music was so high and I was so excited of that that I made a decision that I will continue my music studies, and I want to be a music engineer one day. Never knowing what that would mean. Okay, now I get the name of it's the All the World's Mornings, yes, is the name of that film. Yeah, so I applied and I got to Sibelius Academy to study the musical education. So I was trained to be a music teacher for high schools, although I never really took those educational or pedagogical classes there. But then I had been like 3 years in that school and I needed some added income from somewhere. And then somebody here in Aalto University campus, I was here for some reason, I said to me that, hey Ville, there's a very cool project coming between Sibelius Academy and Aalto University. And I said, cool. And they said they will pay something like 2,000 euros about it. And I was, cool, I will take that. And then I asked, what should I do? And they said that, yeah, here is this Sibelius Academy had this 32-channel loudspeaker setup, or it's a concert hall that has a lot of loudspeakers in the ceilings and walls. And Aalto University had an 8-channel D to A converter, which was really cool that time. The year was 95. And then they said that they want to control the direction of perceived sound. And I said, okay, I can do that without any knowledge how to do it. And then I said, so what should I do? And they gave me some papers on pairwise panning, where you have 2 loudspeakers and you pan the sound between those. And then they said that, yeah, here's some background, do something. And then I think I was kind of thinking of it for 2 months and how to solve this. And I thought of this that, okay, if they are talking about pairs, so here it's 3D, it must be triangles then. And then I was thinking quite a long time how to compute the gain factors for those loudspeakers in a loudspeaker triplet. And then I finally got this vector base idea, which then gave the direction for this vector base amplitude panning. And it worked well. And then I'm happy that I was educated in such a way that I realized that nobody else had done it before, and it is really a golden egg on my hand. So I could publish it and give the free code to everybody. So then everybody started to use it, and Charlie also, it seems. Yeah, okay. And then there was a time that I had to make a decision. Do I continue this spatial audio endeavor, or should I continue with this music? And then I thought that it looks so good, this spatial audio that I will continue there. So then I applied and got some funding for PhD studies in Aalto University, and then I made my PhD around this spectral-based amplitude panning. And then after that, I'm really interested in sound and also building something by myself. And also I'm interested in questions. If somebody asks me a relevant question in my field, I never forget it. It always stays in somewhere in back of my brains, and then one day maybe the answer pops out from my brains. I don't know who does it, and is there some kind of a green man behind some curtain or something, but who is sending me these messages? But yeah, sometimes I get a wow or aha effect or heureka effect, and yeah. But yeah, you asked about immersive sound. I don't know. I mean, I like sound, I like music, I like to invent, but it would be not true if I would say that I'm really interested in immersive sound, that I really want to get this immersive sound to highest possible level just because it is immersive sound. It's more that I'm interested in this work of inventor and work of scientist, and then it has happened that my inventions are in the field of immersive sound. I don't know, what do you say about that, Charlie?
I think it's like that for everybody. I think that we start out with specific goals, particularly in our generations, because these were new thoughts. When you did your inventions, you could do them because it was uncharted territory. Same for me. And I think this is what became interesting for me. I became interested in VBAP as I had started out as, amongst other things, as an outdoor composer of outdoor experiences. I had left the concert hall and decided I'd rather perform with musical instruments in open spaces and free to the public. I wanted people to come to hear experiments in music and sound and language that they might not hear otherwise, so they should come for free. So that's what we're doing in New York, and it's in that context what to do in a park, what to do with sound that can be heard for a kilometer, or the circumstance led to the observations, but it was first the experience and then giving it a name.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, would you like to talk about the work that you're doing now, though? Because I think I was amazed by your headset.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So after this PhD, then I have had a few topics that I have been working on, like this, working on, let's say, ambisonical recordings and using some knowledge of human hearing to enhance them better, which then bypasses some of the artifacts that are existing in first-order ambisonics. And that's actually quite big part of my work has been, and there are some this directional audio coding has been coming out for first order and higher orders, also for impulse responses, but then also some then it's kind of diverging to beamforming, and we have used some same principle in the idea that how to make the beam pattern of a microphone array to be as narrow as possible. And then also in some point there was some studies with lasers, and because when you measure impulse responses of small spaces, then loudspeakers are problematic because they are quite bulky and big, and they have a directional pattern. But if you take a high power pulsed ultraviolet laser, then you can explode the air, and you get a small spark there, which produces something like 170 decibels, 170 decibels, which is quite loud.
Yeah, I'm looking at a chart behind me, which I'm going to copy and include in the Let me take a quick picture of it, I think. and we can see exactly how loud that sound is.
And there's our assistant is giving the information that the name of the film in French is Tous les matins du monde.
We can put that back into the earlier part of the show. Or just digressions in the middle of the show and say, hey, we forgot this. You remember that, listeners.
But it's a nice way to measure impulse responses, but it's a bit dangerous. You can light fires, and if it comes to your eye, you will lose your sight, which is a problem. But that's still on. Hopefully, we can continue the work to develop it to be more safe version of it. And then I studied also psychoacoustics, like how good we are in hearing the directions of different broadband sources, and some modeling of human hearing. How do our hearing devices work in the brains? But lately, then, at some point, I got this idea of SuperHearing, spatial SuperHearing, that that when bats are yelling a lot, they actually are very loud. Some bats can produce something like 120 decibels of sound, which is something that we are glad that we don't hear it because it's so loud. But sometimes it would be nice to hear what kind of sources we have around and where they are. So there exist some devices that they're kind of modulators that they bring to audible range the sound, and then they play the sound back with a small loudspeaker. So then you hear the bat sound from your hand, and then you don't know where the bat is. But we kind of combine this knowledge of how to modulate the sounds to audible range with this knowledge of this spatial audio reproduction, this directional audio coding knowledge. And now we have a headphone device where we have 6 microphones on a cube, a small cube like a dice or a die, and then we kind of all the time we measure in 1 millisecond time windows where the sound is coming from, and then we bring the some signal to audible range, and then make it audible via some HRTF processing to that direction where we analyze it to come. And it's quite nice effect because you really can then hear that, hey, there are bats in that tree, or there is in this high pressure pipe, there is a small leak here, or then you can find that power supply in your closet that makes some ultrasound noise. So it means that there's some vibrations inside that power adapter, and it might break in one point. But we are going to continue this work to the direction of blind, to be helping devices for blind people and maybe divers. And we are going to try that if you can hear the Wi-Fi stations around you and localize them by hearing. Yep, I kind of like to make this kind of a bit esoteric projects. Maybe, if you mind.
Well, it's wonderful that you follow your bent. I mean, they say there's a saying in the pop music business is that when you're having a good time, you don't even notice that you have recorded that tape that's going to sell millions of records. And it seems to me it's the same with any kind of invention. Often you don't have any idea what the value is because you're just so deeply engrossed in making it with your hands.
Yeah, and then it's very valuable if somebody comes to you and says that, hey, we could use this here and there, and then it's great to me also that to find that somebody who is interested in my technology, who is willing to take it into use somewhere. Because, these scientific publications are nice because they describe what we have been doing, and that's, of course, something we have to do. But they are worthless if they don't ever lead to anywhere, or they don't lead to any influence in the society with people or industries or something.
I think it would be very nice now to play a few examples of the SuperHearing sound.
Yeah, there is, in this example, we were actually walking next to a street light in Otaniemi region in Espoo, Finland, and there was bats flying around that street light, catching those insects that were attracted by the light. And you can hear that there are movement. They sound like birds, and they kind of go around, and you kind of hear that they move. Yeah, the bats are flying around quite fast. You can hear that they are flying around quite fast, but they are so fast that it's a bit hard to say where they are actually, because one reason is that our hearing is a bit sluggish, especially those mechanisms that are related to interval time difference decoding or encoding. They follow a bit sluggishly the actual direction of the source. Okay, and in this demo there was a bicycle pipe, which we made a very small leak in it, and you can hear, in the recording you could hear this sound coming left and right, because I was moving bicycle inner tube, in front of the camera. So in this demo there was a bicycle inner tube to which I pinched a very small hole, and I was moving it left and right in the front of the SuperHearing device. So you heard this sound going left and right. And there's one demo which is about the listening test, and it's quite boring. Yeah. Yes, so that was the SuperHearing.
We were talking about emotion before, and I thought it was very honest of you to say that, a lot of the discussions about emotion have been based on different principles. The first one you recalled was from Audio Engineering Society paper back in the, I think, 1990s. And
this actually, what I mentioned was quite recent. It like in 5 years, there was somebody showing in a New York convention that which actually came out in the journal also later. But they were going through different definitions of immersion and what does it mean, and they like the idea that immersion happens if something is mediated to you and you don't realize that it is not real. So it's kind of a perfect illusion that you really think that something is real. And then immersion could happen, for example, if somebody sees the first time a 4K video of a fire, and then the viewer blushes because he sees the fire, which causes this kind of physiological reaction, which can be said then that it was total immersion because the viewer thought that it's a real fire and got this effect of the temperature in the skin. But it might be that it doesn't happen, or when you show again this fire to this person, then he doesn't get any more this immersive effect. But then it goes to some scientific definitions, and then we could talk about immersiveness, if something is a bit immersive. but in a way, I kind of like the idea that what better you reproduce everything, all these aspects that humans are sensitive to, that better is the, let's say, level of immersion, then that closer you are to that original scene. But of course, you have to compare the quality of reproduction, and you should then always have the listener in the original place and the listener in the reproduced place, and then somehow you should be able to compare those perceptions, because in audio it is practically impossible to reproduce the sound fields as they are, just because of limitations is microphones and loudspeakers, and then you start to make some flaws and you have some shortcomings in the technologies, and then finally it doesn't sound the same. But it's very hard to say that how is it different and what is causing this. I don't know if we are close to the immersion anymore, but it's a kind of subjective term. I like it because it's describing the perception of the listener. And in a way, it's the ultimate goal of spatial audio reproduction.
You made a point, though, that really interested me, since you are a music lover, music maker, performer, and you've said, in fact, you enjoy performing more than you do being audience. And you said when the rhythm and the melody and the harmonies all come together, there's something really special. And you said that's a kind of immersion. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about when the music works.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many levels in audio reproduction, and already before phonographs and anything, music was reproduced as some kind of kellopeli. Clockworks, that the melody was sent as some kind of thing you could play in a clockwork, or in these mechanical pianos you had those piano rolls. So then it was a revolution, because you could transfer audible music from place to another, and what you were reproducing was some kind of melody, some kind of harmony, some kind of rhythm. They didn't have too much of voice yet, but still it was an industry that time that somebody was producing them and getting money out of that. Nowadays you have so many ways to do it, but anyway, then you were going to phonographs and gramophones, and you got also the voice and real instruments and strings and horns and everything reproduced. That's always better and better, but still, I mean, so when you can deliver the music, you didn't need so much. And then, of course, you could think that finally the people, the composers of music, they could have been actually designing their music in a way that it fits these clockworks, that they can bring a very nice piece of music to people using this media that they have. Yes, I really enjoy playing piano, singing. I enjoy performing. I perform in musicals by singing, acting, and dancing. I'm maybe it's the same that I really love to build my measurement devices and my summer houses and whatnot. this is the same thing that I enjoy music, and the best I enjoy it when I make it myself. And I'm playing some Chopin with my piano. That's just so enjoyable. Of course, good music from audio or whatever, headphones or loudspeakers, can be also very good, but I would say that I enjoy it more when I play it myself.
It's interesting to hear you say that. One of the writers who's involved in this immersion project of mine, I interviewed the poet Jerome Rothenberg, who's been my mentor over the years. He's older than me. And he said one of the most immersive experiences is the lone poet, the lone musician all by themselves, just creating in the moment.
You are kind of inside that music, yes. I do also compose a bit, and you can check my YouTube page of my compositions. Yes, and that's also then it kind of brings together that making yourself and bringing it to the audience. But when you are a composer, it's quite long route from that. When you are typing some notes with your with your software, and then finally somebody is playing it somewhere or singing it, and but it's already, or I mean, I don't necessarily need that, or in that case I don't need that I'm performing myself, but it's also feels so great that if it is my piece played somewhere, and if I happen to be in the same place, of course that's excellent.
Well, thank you for being in this place, having this conversation, which we've recorded, and very much appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you for listening to this.
Thank you. This is Immerse, the podcast and book. We are delighted to have you join us. Immerse is produced by Charlie Morrow, Sean McCann, and Bart Plantenga for Morrow Sound, Vermont and Helsinki, and Recital Edition, Los Angeles.
Immerse, immerse, immerse.
An empty shell to fall back into the sea.